Have you ever considered that Pennywise the clown from it is merely a mask, not an image, not a profession, and not even an essence, but merely a convenient shell? How old is this creature? Hundreds, thousands, or perhaps even more? Does it have a gender? And can human concepts such as man or woman even be applied to it? The answer is both disappointing and frightening. Pennywise is something else, something that does not fit into any of the usual categories. Moreover, according to the lore, this creature was not born on Earth at all. It came from outside, from the cold, alien abyss of space. That's what we are going to talk about today. And of course, it is impossible to talk about horror without mentioning Pennywise, a creature with dozens of faces, forms, and manifestations. Every 27 years, it returns to the small American town of Derry to once again feed on human fear. Its appearance in our world is as mysterious as the very origin of the reality in which we live. Long ago, long before the first settlements appeared, a meteorite fell to Earth. Along with it came something else, a creature that settled in the very place where Derry would later arise. The Club of Misfits was able to fight back not because they were physically stronger or smarter. Their weapon was faith in each other, and refusal to give in to fear. In Stephen King's world, this is a key motif. Evil exists as long as people believe in it. As soon as fear dissipates, it begins to weaken, loses its form, becomes uncertain, almost pathetic. Note that in the final scenes, Pennywise no longer looks like an omnipotent deity. He screams, begs, and gets angry because for the first time in hundreds of years, no one fears him. He is deprived of food, and a creature that lives by fear is doomed without fear. But that doesn't mean evil disappears forever. In King's world, nothing goes away without a trace. It can fall asleep, be sealed away, forgotten, but forgetting is its chance to return. After all, people's memories are short, and new generations don't remember the old horrors. And this is the main idea of the story It is not just a story about a monster clown. It is a story about the cyclical nature of evil, about how fear is transmitted if it is not fought, about the fact that the most terrible monsters are born not in space, but in human indifference. Pennywise is a reflection. He looks deep into a person and brings out what we prefer to hide: childhood traumas, guilt, the pain of loss, the fear of rejection. That is why everyone sees him differently. For some, he is a clown. For others, he is a spider. For others, he is a dead brother or a face from a nightmare. Because the real, it is not a form. It is a fear that has been given a name. And perhaps that is why the story of Pennywise is still frightening. Because if you think about it, each of us is familiar with our own. For some, it is a clown. For others, it is a spider. For others, it is a dead brother or a face from a nightmare. Because the real, it is not a form. It is a fear that has been given a name. And perhaps that is why Pennywise's story is still frightening. Because if you think about it, each of us is familiar with our own it. And the only question is who will win, fear, or those who dare to face it. But it would be naive to believe that evil really dies. In a world where fear is an integral part of human nature, Pennywise cannot disappear completely. It can only be put to sleep, driven into darkness, forced to pretend to be dead. And every time, people convince themselves that this time it is forever. The city goes back to living its life. Streets are repaired, houses are repainted, children laugh. Disappearances become rumors. Rumors become fabrications, and fabrications become forgotten stories. It is at this moment that it begins to stir in its sleep. Because oblivion is its cradle. Pennywise doesn't need fanatics or cults. Indifference is enough for him. It's enough for adults to turn away when a child is scared. It's enough for screams to be drowned out by everyday noise. Where fear is not given a name, it grows unopposed. And one day, years or decades later, it will rain again in Derry. The gutters will fill with murky water. Somewhere on the side of the road, a red ball will appear, not immediately noticeable, almost accidental, but it will be there, because the cycle never ends, it only pauses. The true form of it will remain beyond human understanding. Perhaps it is watching us right now, from behind the thin veil of reality, from the macro world, where fear is the language and pain is the currency, and we are not its enemies. We are its habitat. Pennywise does not hunt. It waits. It waits for fear to become louder than laughter again, for cruelty to be justified, and for indifference to become the norm. And then it won't even have to take to the streets. We will open the door ourselves. Because the scariest thing in the story of it is not a clown with sharp teeth. The scariest thing is the thought that it doesn't need to come back. It never really left. In those days, no city existed yet. There were only forests, rivers, and silence. But evil was already here, lurking and patient. The first documented awakening of this creature dates back to 1715. By that time, Derry had already appeared on the map, and it was then that the city experienced one of its most terrible tragedies. About 300 people disappeared without a trace. The city was literally drowning in blood, and it became clear that there was a dark, hidden chapter in its history. Its awakening is almost always associated with cruelty, not accidental, but demonstrative murder, mass death, acts of extreme violence. Such events seem to serve as a signal. The world is ready for harvest again. The creature emerges from hibernation, absorbs fear, pain, and despair, and at the same time satisfies its more literal hunger by devouring people. After each cycle, sated and satisfied, it falls asleep again, leaving behind only trauma and forgotten memories. What this creature looked like 300 years ago is unknown. Most likely, it was not a clown at all. Pennywise's image was formed later, as a result of observing people. A clown is the ideal form. It must evoke both joy and anxiety at the same time. And distorted joy is the most frightening thing of all. This image has the same effect on both children and adults, penetrating deep into the subconscious. To frighten, that is the true goal. For Ono, fear is not just an emotion, but a source of life. The creature can feed on anyone, animals, adults, random passersby. But children are a special treat for him. Their fears are purer, brighter, and easier to process. Moreover, as the creature itself believes, a frightened victim tastes much better. Fear seems to give the meat a special flavor. Fear is currency, energy, and oxygen for Pennywise. Starting in 1715, the awakenings occurred with frightening regularity. In 1851, John Markson brutally murdered his family and committed suicide. The town once again became an arena of horror, and it awoke. In 1876, a woodcutter hacked several people to death. In 1904, a factory exploded, killing more than 100 people, most of whom were children, a perfect feast for the creature. In 1929, the residents of Derry took vigilante justice against a gang that had set fire to a nightclub with black patrons. Hatred, cruelty, and collective madness once again fed the evil. In 1957, Dorsey Corcoran was beaten to death by his own stepfather. This awakening is particularly important because it was then that Pennywise encountered the Losers Club. It was in this cycle that Georgie, the boy in the yellow raincoat, died, trustingly reaching out his hand to the friendly clown in the storm drain. In 1984, the cycle repeated itself. This is what the second part of the film is about. The Losers Club has grown up and become adults, but age does not save them from the ancient horror. The encounter is inevitable. Each appearance of it is preceded by tragedy. It is tragedy that awakens it, feeds it, and guides it. Pennywise is dangerous because it sees the most hidden fears and turns them into weapons, taking any form. He can become a giant spider, a dead loved one, or a nightmare from childhood fantasies brought to life. His body defies the laws of anatomy. His jaws open wider than possible, his face stretches, his tongue twists, and his features become grotesquely distorted. Yes, he can dance, but behind this grotesque plasticity lies an ancient evil. It can even influence the weather in the city. Remember the rain, the gray sky, and the smile in the plum. The method is not important. The result is fear. That is what makes Pennywise stronger. There is only one way to defeat him, by ceasing to be afraid. But is it easy not to be afraid when you are faced with a creature with sharp teeth digging into your most painful memories? Its calling card is red balls. They appear when the hunt has already begun. If you see them, run. Almost no one has seen its true form. Those who have seen it have died or gone mad. Only one woman has survived, Audra Phillips. The creature prefers to hide its true appearance, revealing it only beyond the edge of our dimension, in a place known as the Deadly Fires. Anyone who encounters this reality dies of terror. The creature comes from the macrocosm, a space beyond our understanding. Its ancient enemy, the turtle Maturin, who participated in the creation of the world, also lives there. Sounds crazy? It's part of Stephen King's overall mythology. His horrors are interconnected. Both Maturin and it originate from the macrocosm, familiar to readers of the Dark Tower series. Looking at Quiet Derry, it's hard to imagine that its roots go back. Anyone who encounters this reality dies of terror. The creature comes from the macrocosm. a space beyond our understanding. Its ancient enemy, the turtle Maturin, who participated in the creation of the world, also lives there. Sounds crazy? It's part of Stephen King's overall mythology. His horrors are interconnected, both Maturin and it come from the macrocosm, familiar to readers of the Dark Tower series. Looking at Quiet Dairy, it's hard to imagine that its roots lie in fantastical worlds, but that's exactly how it is. In King's books, everyday horror always hides something cosmic. Maturin is a benevolent entity, one of the 12 guardians of the beams that hold up the Dark Tower. In it, she merely observes the battle and gives advice to Bill Denbrow. 27 years later, Pennywise declares that the turtle is dead. And, as it turns out, it's true. Behind the clown mask lies ancient mythology, an evil beyond human comprehension. This explains Pennywise's abilities. His regeneration is virtually limitless, especially if the victim is afraid. He can become invisible to those who do not believe in him and completely distort their perception of reality. A room can be drenched in blood, but only for one victim. For the rest, it will remain clean. Illusions, hallucinations, nightmares, these are all his tools. He can destroy all living things with a touch, control the weather, read minds, and teleport. All that remains after him are red balls, a sign that evil was here. And that's not all. Ahead lies a review of the second part of it, and new details you may not have known about. But the most frightening thing about Pennywise is not even his abilities or his origins in the macro world. The scariest thing is that he never comes alone. He always comes to places where people are already prepared for evil, where violence has become commonplace, where cruelty is hushed up, and fear is passed down from generation to generation. Derry is not just a city. It is the ideal environment for it to exist, a place where people prefer not to notice disappearances, not to ask unnecessary questions, and to forget too quickly. That is why Pennywise is so powerful. He does not create evil from scratch. He only amplifies what is already there. He is like a parasite feeding on the rot of the human soul. Hatred, indifference, cruelty of adults towards children. All this is fertilizer for him. And as long as the city closes its eyes, it feels at home.